talk renewable energy on the African continent. In its March 2023 World Energy Transition Outlook preview, the International Renewable Energy Agency has said that Africa accounted for only 1% of additional renewable energy investments in 2022. There it is right there. Plenty to discuss on this issue. Fisayo Durojaye joins us now. He's a general partner with Ancestors Advisory. Fisayo, you're very welcome. Good morning to you. What do you make of that figure with respect to this report?
1%.
1% of additional, I mean, with all the news that we get about renewables and all the investment coming in here, how do you see it?
I think that 1%, is generous, right? Again, given the fact that Africa contributes less than 1%, to global investments anyway, right? So, irrespective of how you look at it, from VC investment to private equity investment to some mergers and acquisitions to renewable energy. South Africa has always been contributing less, significantly low percentages, to any form of investment happening globally. So this is not surprising that Africa is just contributing about 1% to global renewable energy as a way. And of course, it's also strange because even though yes, Africa contributes less than many other developed countries in terms of, say, carbon emissions, right? And of course, climate path issues. Yeah. But the adverse effects of some of those things are also felt, here in Africa with desertification, being the biggest, maybe some of the bigger problems that Africa seems to be facing, as part of the impact of just global climate, warming and changes.
All right, so let's look at the reports, at least some portions of it. So this is coming from IRENA, the International Renewable Energy Association. So 85% of global renewable energy investment benefited less than 50% of the world's population. Africa accounts for only 1% of that additional capacity. What else did they say here? They also said that IRENA's Global Landscape of Renewable Energy Finance 2023 confirms that regions home to about 120 developing and emerging markets continue to receive comparatively little investment. So what do you make of that? Why is there such little investment coming into the continent when it comes to renewable energy? I mean, and you've worked with VCs, you're in that space, yes. You've reviewed many startups in this, so why?
So I think you have to address the first issue they raised. That's the first quote that you read, which suggested that the investment that's been into global renewable energy has only affected less than 50% of the global population. Yeah. Again, this is one thing around. Are we talking too much, or are we overstating the impact of some of the things that we claim that yes, these investments are meant to change, right? If it affects just less than 50% of the population globally, I mean the question is that with the amount of dollars that have gone into green energy laws and every other thing that is improving, just designed to improve climate, human beings and its relationship with the environment, right? How do we see these things impact a lot more people? We need to ask those questions. And of course, regarding investments into the space, right? I guess my biggest question, I mean, I'm not that alarmist around, complaining bitterly about how Africa has been excluded. But the question is that there will be billionaires in Africa, right? How much of their own money has been invested in alternative asset classes, like venture capital funds or like private equity funds, right? How many of Africa's own income is being invested in Africa, outside of just, say, project that these billionaires or really wealthy people invest in, right? I mean, how much money is going into, say, impact investing here in Africa sourced from Africans itself. So I guess, if it's not important to Africans, then we shouldn't expect that other people should subsidize, that for us. I guess that's where my position is.
Okay, so good point. Let's look at the Francisco. He's the Director General of IRENA. So here, Francisco La Camara. So he says we must rewrite the way international cooperation works. Achieving the energy transition requires stronger international collaboration, including collective efforts to channel more funds. So, okay, let's even continue. I want to get your reaction to this. He also says, moving forward, he's putting emphasis on multilateral financial institutions to direct more funds at better terms, as far as loans, towards energy transition projects. And he's also talking about infrastructure as well. So what do you make of his emphasis on multilateral? You're talking about billionaires here in Africa. What he's saying, the multilaterals.
Yeah, multilateral organizations. Again, so I guess my question to him, to everyone listening is that how much, because this multilateral organization raised money from countries, from governments.
Right.
US puts billions of dollars in World Bank, in IFC, in just different multilateral organizations. I've seen, say, European investment banks. I've seen many of those things. There are a few of them in Africa as well, like the AFC, AFDB, all of that. Which is, so the question here is that, while these people are probably prioritizing people that give them more money, or also sprinkling some other things so that they can claim that they're doing some impact work in Africa as well. That's all you continue to get if you're not a global participant in that space. If you don't have a seat at the table, if you're not, heavily contributing and involved in decision making, you only get, the things that fall off the table.
The crumbs. Okay, so wait, along those lines, the narrative of Africa has to take care of herself. Let's not depend on the outside world. We should do for ourselves. Do we have the money? Is to listen looking inwards, so we should solve our own problems, investing our own, where does that apply here? If he's talking about multilaterals.
So we've seen other developing nations, transition, deliberately, from third world, as it were, to being, global superpowers today. Today we're seeing collaborations between Russia, China,
Saudi Arabia,
Iran, to a large extent, and of course, to some extent, BRICS, which includes South Africa. So with that, those kind of core collaborations need to continue to happen. Today, trade in Africa, intra-Africa trade is abysmal, to say the least, right? Africa trades more with Europe, with the US, than within itself. People, even in the startup world, right? If you say a startup in Nigeria, expand internationally, you see them expand to Ghana, forgetting that there are at least 2 countries between Nigeria and Ghana, right? So these are issues that Africans need to deal with and address, themselves, because they can't just be here,
You're going to say slave to the gallery. That's how you got to say that. Okay, go ahead.
Being claiming to be victims of this unjust, global financial system, when we are not taking active steps to figure out a way to correct, the issues that we have within ourselves. No one understands Africa's issues better than Africans. And of course, talking about climate issues, right? The truth is that I really don't think that Africans take this issue seriously. Right.
Now, you preempted my next question. Okay.
So I don't think that we take this issue seriously. Global warming, it's great. It's nice on pitch decks, but really, I don't think anybody cares really about those.
Is it because we are fossil fuel dependent? And in fact, okay, you know what? Actually, let me show you this. Irina has this list of what needs to be done to attract more investors. So since you are in this space, you funded a lot of startups, and you go over, you review all these things. So they're saying that from a attraction perspective, physical infrastructure, policy and regulatory enablers, and then a well-skilled workforce. What do you mean? Is that exhaustive? Is that what?
No. I just think we don't just care.
That's us here in Africa.
Yes, we don't care about it as much. People are trying to, people have been talking about solar type energy, but guess what? It's just so expensive. When people live on less than $1 a day, having to transition from a grid, coal-fired, power generation to some expensive solar power with some lithium-ion battery behind it that you have to pay so much, for only to be able to charge your phone and watch TV, right? It doesn't work, to a large extent. So Africa still has a big poverty problem that needs to be addressed, right? Before we start thinking about, all this flowery thing around climate and of course, changes to the environment. We've learned to live with flood. We've learned to live with extreme, climate conditions. We'll continue to move that. Droughts. In East Africa, in North, we've learned to live in deserts. right? So, as far as I'm concerned, right, the bigger problems for Africa is like, how do we pull people out of poverty? How do we ensure that, wealth is a lot more distributed? How do we ensure that people don't live on less than $1 a day? These are real issues that is facing the continent, right? So talking about renewable energy, climate change, making transition from
fossil
to
fuels,
electric vehicles,
yeah.
like these are not on the front burners. It is Maslow's hierarchy of need. After you solved food and housing, shelter, we can talk about self-actualization. Now I want to buy a Tesla.
Fisayo Durojaye, general partner with Ancestors Advisory. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.